San Diego Goes to the Movies, Part 1.
San Diego first went to the movies more than 80 years ago. In 1898, a crew like this one from Thomas Edison's East Coast Film Company shot Street Scene San Diego, one of a number of newsreel-type short films of American cities of the time by the Edison people. But San Diego's big break in the movie biz came about a decade later. East Coast companies looking for new scenery and maverick companies running from bitter patent fights over the motion picture camera began arriving to film in California cities and countryside. San Diego was on their list.
Well, in part, it was the climate and the wide variety of environment. That just within a few hours, the companies could pack up and go to the Laguna Mountains, or they could go to the Sahara Desert, which was Yuma as the backdrop.
Dr. Ray Brandis is Dean of the University of San Diego's Graduate School and a history professor. A native San Diegan, Brandis has studied the city's ongoing affair with the movie industry. His mother worked as an extra for an early San Diego movie company for 75 cents a day and a box lunch.
One of the San Diego area's first motion picture studios, the American Film Manufacturing Company, known as the Flying A Film Company, operated out of what is now storefront at the corner of La Mesa Boulevard and 3rd Street in the beautiful, though bucolic, city of La Mesa of that time. Flying A was headed up by director Allan Dwan, who in a prolific career turned out hundreds of motion pictures.
Dwan and Company first arrived in the San Diego area in 1911 and set up a makeshift studio in Lakeside next to the Lakeside Inn. Later that year, Dwan moved Flying A to La Mesa. From his studio there and on location in La Mesa, Lakeside, and Santee, Dwan turned out and successfully marketed Western romances and cowboy comedies. Dwan's San Diego films included Cattle Rustlers, The Bandit of Point Loma, The Yiddisher Cowboy, and even one called Sagebrush Phrenologist. In 1912, the S&A Company and its star Bronco Billy Anderson arrived in La Mesa for filming. S&A shot several Western flickers but was gone after just a 3-month stay. The opening of the San Diego Panama Exposition in Balboa Park in 1915 brought a host of motion picture companies and stars to the city. Fatty Arbuckle and Mabel Normand paraded through the park in one early movie, and Balboa Park was the setting for Americano, starring the great Douglas Fairbanks. Between 1910 and 1930, 20 to 25 motion picture companies were either based here or had branch offices in the area. But by 1920, most had come and gone.
In some cases, the companies simply were underfinanced or mismanaged, and so they went bankrupt and just gave up their businesses. In some instances, there were communities, for example, like La Mesa, where in the beginning they welcomed the companies, but they soon came to think of the cowboys as bad guys.
Since 1930, the San Diego area has been used off and on for location filming for Hollywood movies. But generally speaking, we've suffered through a movie-making famine after a feast in the early part of the century, until lately. The movie industry is back, and we'll find out why on San Diego Goes to the Movies, Part 2.
San Diego Goes to the Movies, Part 2.
By the late 1920s, the 24 or so film companies which had operated in San Diego since about 1910 had all left town. Through the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, Hollywood film companies occasionally came here. San Diego's military equipment and facilities were used frequently for war films. The Hotel del Coronado saw its share of location movie making, like in 1958 when Marilyn Monroe and Jack Lemmon were in town for the making of Some Like It Hot.
San Diego's on and off again association with the movie industry took a turn for the better in 1974 when the television series Harry O with David Janssen set up for production on Coronado Island. The series left the island after less than a season's work, but the Harry O series brought to a head a long-standing and important Hollywood problem with San Diego filming.
Let's move across.
The Los Angeles chapter of the Screen Extras Guild required filmmakers working in San Diego to use LA area extras, actors and actresses, for things like crowd scenes and minor roles in movies. Transporting the extras from LA and lodging them in San Diego was a considerable extra expense to movie makers, and most avoided filming in San Diego for that reason and others. That obstacle was eliminated a few years after the Harry O series left town, when a San Diego chapter of the Extras Guild was established. And in 1977, the Chamber of Commerce set up a motion picture and television bureau to attract movie, television, and other filmmakers to town and assist them with their needs before and after arrival. Those moves opened the door for San Diego's return to the movies on more than an occasional basis. There's more movie making in San Diego lately than there's been since the early days.
Well, I'm not sure why everyone else comes, but I came for this.
Jim Nelson is producer of Borderline, a movie on alien smuggling filmed mostly in San Diego in late 1979. Nelson was an associate producer for Star Wars, China Syndrome, and Borderline is his 137th film. Nelson didn't have to bring his $6 million Borderline production to town. He could have filmed it in L.A., but filming in San Diego these days is simply not the problem it once was.
It's a fantastic place to shoot, and the cooperation here has been really great. We've gotten everything from the city of San Diego and the county that I could possibly want. We are able to park in places that we have trouble in L.A. and other areas. I mean, the police department here especially is very cooperative in trying to clear out any place that we want to park trucks and vehicles, and just in general, everybody's really good to work with.
Oh, how you feel?
All I want is a medicine ball.
A medicine ball?
Yeah.
Hey, you're getting the spirit. I guess I underestimated you madly. Wait. Here.
If you keep up with the movies, see a few every now and then, chances are you've seen something at the theater recently which was filmed, at least in part, in San Diego. To name film names in that category, Stuntmen, Killer Tomatoes, Force of One, Scavenger Hunt, Loving Couples, Raise the Titanic, are movies made the last few years in San Diego. Many television specials and series have also been to town lately, too. Going to the movies, so to speak, means money, jobs, and a few other things for San Diego. We'll find out all about that on San Diego Goes to the Movies, Part 3. Doug McAllister, News 8. San Diego Goes to the Movies, Part 3. Now that the movie and television people are coming back to San Diego to work, how do you keep them coming? That's the job of the Chamber of Commerce's Motion Picture and Television Bureau. The Bureau was established in 1977 to attract movie makers to San Diego. And in just 2 years, the Bureau has turned around the film industry opinion of working in San Diego. Wally Schlatter is director and calls cooperation the key in the turnaround.
That's the key, the cooperation with the support of Pete Wilson, with the support of the Chamber of Commerce, the county, Conviz, everyone in San Diego. With their support, we're able to supply them with what they need without a lot of red tape, without a lot of problems. But I think what brings them to San Diego is hearing from other producers that San Diego is a good place to film. It's a place where they can have a good experience and accomplish what they need to do in a short amount of time without spending more money than they're budgeted for.
San Diego is a good place for movie makers to make movies, but what does movie making mean for the area? A lot. Having the city and area showed off on movie screens across the country is not only good public relations for San Diego, but good for our economy too. It can do nothing but help tourism, and tourism pays a lot of our bills. And the movie people spend a bit of cash when they're in town and temporarily employ San Diegans. The production company for Scavenger Hunt spent $450,000 in our restaurants and hotels and employed more than 500 of our people. In the last fiscal year, movie people spent $1,750,000 in San Diego.
The benefit of having the Motion Picture Bureau is the return, the amount of money that they spend here. Oftentimes, they'll call me on 1 or 2 scenes, and they're going to be here 2 or 3 days, and then I try to expand that. We've turned them around a lot. We've showed them other locations, and we've had companies that wanted to come down here for a day or 2 or less than a week, and we've had them stay 3 or 4 weeks because we've showed them that they could accomplish more here than they could in L.A.
Several motion picture companies have already promised to film in San Diego this year, and the Bureau is close to getting commitments from many others, including television commercial makers and documentary producers. But the Chamber, and probably most of the rest of us, don't want to see San Diego become another Hollywood.
I was born in San Diego, and I'm the last person that wants San Diego to turn into another Hollywood. I would like to see us get some sound stages down here and to have more of our share of the production dollars, but I don't want it to become as blasé as it is in LA.
The movie industry and San Diego have come a long way since the early days. If all goes well, the industry and the area have a long way yet to go together. Doug McAllister, News 8.